All right, welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. It is January 2nd at 7:07 Eastern Standard Time, and I'm joined by a new guest. His name is Kyle Ryan. He went to Aquinas for 2 years. We were little Irish buds. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Just chilling. And so, just for Kyle's background, he is a diehard Browns fan, and also a big Lakers fan too. And one of the big things that happened, I guess, this weekend and just this week was the Browns fired both Freddie Kitchens on Sunday, and then they also fired John Dorsey on Tuesday. So Kyle, what do you think about these two firings or releasings, I guess?
Well, first off, let me start by saying that for those of you that haven't changed your air filter, it has been 2 years since the Browns had a coach and have to get a new one. So you may want to refill that. It seems to me that it keeps happening. It's a biannual thing at this point. But let me first start off by saying I don't want to say I agree with the hire of Kitchens in the first place, because it's really hard. Obviously, I don't know from experience or anything like that, but as somebody that's a diehard sports fan, it's pretty easy to see that coaching is incredibly difficult, especially being the head coach of a team in the National Football League. You have all these, it's not like college where you can kind of boss them around. You got these grown men that, it's more of not telling them what to do, but more of guiding them on how to do it, essentially, and so you don't really listen. So it was hard for me to agree with it because, here's a guy that for Christ's sake, he wasn't even anything more than a running backs coach until last year, week 9 or the ninth game, I should say. I believe it was week 10. We had our bye week, but, and this was his first taste of even play calling was week 10. And that's just, first of all, that, it's such a rise to the top, you know what I mean? So quickly. And especially bringing in a guy like Jarvis Landry, bringing in a guy like Odell Beckham, having Baker Mayfield, all these guys that, Dan, I'm sure you could agree, have huge personalities. Some people want to call them egos, and, maybe it is egos. I don't know. But, they're so passionate about the game, and they're kind of diva-ish, diva-esque, where, it's hard. They got a lot of personality. It's hard to manage all of these personalities in one locker room, let alone not just those three. You have guys like Demarius Randall, who at times has been, kind of a hothead, critical of his coaches. Look what he did last year with Hugh Jackson when he, picked off the Bengals and then ran right to Hugh Jackson and gave him the ball. You know what I mean? So just guys like that, where it's just, there's a lot of personality and a lot that they bring to the table that I don't necessarily know if Freddie Kitchens could have handled it. And as we saw this year, it doesn't look like he did handle it well. I don't know how much people, or how much you, Dan, or people pay attention to the Browns. I know probably maybe this year more so than others because of the guys we got and whatnot, but there's rumors out there that Kitchens he was a bad manager, bad manager as in, let me explain. So basically, again, with the managing the Eagles, but also just managing a whole team, it's a lot different when you're a coordinator and now you're a head coach. They're saying the offensive coordinator of the Browns, Todd Monken, would come out and tell the other team pre-games, like, our team is a mess. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you never want, yes, you know what I mean? Like, you never want to hear that. Not to mention that there's another rumor out there saying that we would game plan something all week, and then come Sunday, the play calling would be completely opposite of what we game planned for. So, and you could see that while watching the Browns. Again, I'm not sure how many games you watch or how many your listeners watch, but I'm diehard. I watch every game start to finish, and it's easy to tell when you watch the Browns, these guys aren't even prepared. They're running out on the field with 15 seconds left in the play clock, and they haven't even called the play yet.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what I mean? And it was so infuriating because this year out of most years was just so devastating because we actually had promise. In years past, it was, it's the Browns, they stink. Or especially, in 2016, that was terrible. 0-16, that was awful. And then the very next year, 1-30, 1-15, and then going 0-16, like 1-30, 1 in 2 years, that was terrible. But even this was more devastating than that because we actually had promise. In those years, I anticipated us doing bad. We got rid of everyone, for Christ. We just did what the Dolphins did. We kind of, I don't want to say started, but we introduced tanking into the NFL almost. It wasn't really a thing until a couple of years ago when we're trading for guys like Brock Osweiler, or like I like to refer to him, Brock Assweiler, because he's terrible, and we're paying him $18 million just because we got a second round pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I know they talked about it before, like the NBA style tanking. And so I embraced that. I anticipated us being really awful. Now, did I anticipate 1-31? Absolutely not. But I anticipated us being bad. So that's why this year was just so devastating. I was so worried about Kitchens that for that reason, again, I like the hire because, you want continuity or you want to be consistent. You want, Baker, the most important part of our franchise right now is to make Baker Mayfield our franchise quarterback. Because, we haven't had one since we got back in 99. And so I get why they hired him. I get it. I didn't necessarily, I don't want to say I hated it because I definitely didn't hate it. It's better than hiring a completely out of the box guy that, that would never work with Mayfield or something like that. But I was skeptical from the beginning, but I had hope. As for Dorsey, I'm iffy about the situation. Now, he had a proven track record. He got us all those great players I mentioned before, like Landry and Randall and Odell, and Sheldon Richardson signed with us. Not a lot of big free agent names want to come to Cleveland. And quite frankly, I can't blame them. So it was cool for Dorsey to come in and like he mentioned in his press conference when he got hired, and at the time it was kind of a slap in the face to Sashi Brown and Paul DePotesta, because he said he got real football players. But he's right. He did get real football players. He brought in all this talent and all this hype around us. And so for that, I thank him. And I don't know if getting rid of him was a good idea. But then again, I see why getting rid of him was necessary. While he did do all those things I just mentioned, he also, he botched the head coaching search. Let's be honest, Dan. He botched it.
Yeah, definitely.
He wanted to give the guy a chance. I get that. But there's so many people in the organization even that said, maybe we shouldn't hire this guy. He doesn't seem to be ready. And Dorsey's just like, no, we should. So he botched that. And he also, some of his roster moves, while great, getting Odell Beckham and Olivier Vernon, was it worth giving up Kevin Zeitler, who was our best offensive lineman, who Pro Football Focus ranked as a top 5 guard last year? Yeah. You know what I mean? And you saw our offensive line this year was terrible. Baker would say hike, and then within a second and a half to 2 seconds, he's running around, like a chicken with his head cut off. Now, a lot of the time, that was him just, being so accustomed to getting sacked pretty much right away that, he's getting happy feet. So it's not all on the offensive line. But as you know, Dan, teams are made in the trenches. Look at San Francisco right now. They're the perfect example. They got 4 or 5 first rounders on their D-line, and you know what I mean? And look what that D-line did for them. They don't even have to blitz anyone, because those guys are getting pressure up the middle. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, I'm talking offensive line a little different, but if teams are going to take the 49ers approach and build up their or defensive line, then you're going to need offensive line to stop them. And this year, we just didn't have that. Our tackles are absolutely terrible. They are Greg Robinson is horrible, and Chris Hubbard, we paid this guy like $6 million a year, and he's done nothing but hold the opposition and commit and just give up sacks. He's terrible, and I hate to say that because I'm a diehard, and I never like to. And it's not something I could certainly do. I can't go out there and check a guy like Von Miller on a Sunday or pass rushers like that. But for Christ's sake, he was terrible. He was awful, and so. I'm iffy on the John Dorsey situation. The other reason why I think it's good is because look at the Bills, for example. And my opinion on the Bills, I'm sure you've seen my Facebook. I'm sure your listeners, if they're friends with me, have seen my Facebook. I am an avid Bills hater. I'm not going to lie to you. It has nothing to do with the Bills themselves. It has to do with experiences that I've had at their stadium. But they're a perfect. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've gone there. I don't know. Are you Bills fan? Either way.
Yeah, I am Bills fan, and I know how we treat away teams.
It has nothing to do with management or the players. And in all honesty, I love Josh Allen. I wanted the Browns to draft Josh Allen. Their fans run me the. Anyways, I'm not going to go on there. I could talk about that for hours. But I will say they're a good example of what to look for. Getting rid of Dorsey allows us to hire a head coach that look at our team and say, oh, wow, I can bring in my own GM. You know what I mean? Hire the coach first, then the GM. It's what the Bills did, sort of. They had a GM, and then they hired McDermott. But then they got rid of that GM, and they pretty much, while not giving him full authority, but they gave Sean McDermott a lot of authority to pick and bring in kind of his own general manager. So he brought in Brandon Beane from Carolina. You know what I mean? Somebody that he knew was going to work in sync with him to build the roster that they want from the ground up. And just look at them. It seemed to work for them.
Oh, it's perfect for them, honestly.
Exactly.
Right now,
it's perfect. And that's what I think will be good is now if we get a head coach, that head coach, while we may not want to give him all say in all the power in hiring who he wants, now he can give us an idea of maybe who he wants to work with. So this brings me to, somebody like Josh McDaniels. I don't necessarily want him because of what he did with the Colts, but it's a different situation now. First things first, he's been in the Patriots organization for a very long time. He knows a lot of high-ranking officials in the Patriots front office, including Nick Caserio, who is their VP of player personnel development, or I'm not sure the exact title, what it's called, but he's the de facto GM. I mean, I know you have Bill Belichick there, but outside of Belichick, it's this Nick Caserio guy. So the Haslams love McDaniels. Why not bring McDaniels in and then have McDaniels bring in Caserio, who is highly coveted? I mean, the Texans were willing to trade away draft picks for this guy just this year. Yeah. He's a high-ranking guy, so maybe someone like that, something like that. Just think outside of the box. At this point, I mean, and here's the deal. If it doesn't work, so then what do? You do what you've been doing for the last 20 years. Just fire him again in 2 years. I know that sounds terrible, and I just preached, consistency, but at some point, it's just, at some point someone's got to work, right?
Yeah,
so why not try something new with have the head coach have input on the GM? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I will say one more thing about this, because I know I'm going on and on, but I will say one more thing is that I blame no one but the Haslams, Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam, the Browns owners. They came from Pittsburgh halfway through the 2012. They took over Game 7 of the 2012 season. They were minority owners in the Steelers, and they came to us. And, I mean, in 7 years we've had them, they've gone through 6 coaches. They've had 2 coaches that are one and done. Their very first coach they hired was one and done, Rob Chudzinski, back in 2013. And then the longest tenured was Hugh Jackson for 2.5 years. And even he was too long. He was tenured too long. I mean, we saw how good they did as soon as he was gone. It's just, there's no one to blame but the Haslams. And it's really infuriating because they came over from the Steelers, who I'm sure as a football fan, they are such a well-run organization. I mean, for Christ's sake, they've only had 3 coaches in the last 60 years or something
forever.
like that.
Yeah,
or even forever. Exactly. Yeah. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. Yeah. We've had 3 coaches in 2 years now. Baker Mayfield alone has had 4 head coaches. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? You'd think they'd learn from the Steelers, but jokingly, I think they came from the Steelers. Maybe they're just trying to sabotage the Browns, but I know that that's not the case. They paid a lot of money for the Browns. I know that's not the case. It's just sometimes it feels that way, and it's just it's infuriating. I agree with the Kitchens firing, and to be quite honest with you, Dan, I wouldn't even let him on the plane. I would have fired him as soon as they lost to the Bengals. They played terrible against the worst team in the league, and it was just awful. And that same day after he got fired, you had players come out and say, basically, in so many words, basically say, our coach was terrible. We need to be led correctly. We need a leader. We need management. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Put it this way. Freddie Kitchens did so bad. I don't know if he gets another job next year. Like, even as offensive coordinator, maybe he takes a couple of years off. I mean, I know Bruce Arians loves him, and he came from the Arians tree, but Arians already has a coaching staff over Tampa Bay. I mean, unless he fires someone, I don't really see Kitchens even getting another job. Maybe I'm wrong. Everyone deserves second chances, but
I think he could maybe get a job again as like a running backs coach. So if he just goes under Aaron's,
you're right. Maybe a running backs coach, but I don't ever see him calling plays again.
No,
not at all. After what we did, I mean, again, you add Odell Beckham, and you somehow, I don't want to say make him worse because he's been dealing with the sports hernia injury, and he's still, even though he had a bad year, he still had over 1,000 yards. But when you get Odell Beckham Jr., you're supposed to be better.
Yeah,
we were
absolutely.
Worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's one more thing. Baker, a lot of people are saying, is he a bust? I think it's too early to tell. I don't know. It's only his second year, and now he's on his 4th head coach already. I will say one thing. He needs to keep his goddamn mouth shut. He is just too worried about what the outside says, and he just needs to, get his head out of his ass, put his foot in the ground, and worry about football and football only.
Yeah.
Sure. I will say that.
Yeah. So I agree with you on the Freddie Kitchens firing. Clearly he wasn't ready to be head coach with like some of the play calls and like, what was it? There was like a 4th and 4.
A 4th and 9, Dan.
No, it was a 4th and 4, right? And then they got a delay game. They were going to punt, and then they got the 4th and 9, and then decided to go for it on it.
Go for it. Not only go for it, they ran a draw play.
Yeah.
on 4th and 9. I was at that game, Sunday Night Football,
ridiculous.
Week 3 against the Rams. My girlfriend took me for my birthday. It was fantastic. Awesome
nice.
atmosphere.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
4th and 9, and he runs a draw. Right there, I would have fired him. I know that's early. I mean, 3 games in, but I just don't understand. Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was pretty much it. I think you pretty much nailed the head on the entire analysis. Like, I didn't really like the Dorsey firing at first because it just seemed like he created the team. He, like you said, he got Odell, he got Landry. Like, he did draft Nick Chubb, even though you probably remember the GM before Dorsey, right?
Sashi Brown. So that's the other thing. That's the other thing really quick about Dorsey is he did do that, right? He did draft Odell, or not draft Odell, sorry. He did draft Baker, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, but he also whiffed on Austin Corbett. He also drafted Austin Corbett, and he also, it's pretty hard to screw up what he was handed, all this cap room and all this picks. But yeah, Sashi Brown, as you were saying, he did get Chubb, yep.
Yeah. Because I felt like most of the stuff that Dorsey did, Brown created. Like you were saying, like the whole Hinkie process with the Sixers, it was like Brown with the Browns.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So I guess it's like iffy. Like you kind of want some continuity. Because like you also said that the 6 different head coaches in 7 years is also 6 different GMs in that same.
It has. You're absolutely correct.
So it's just there's no continuity in this organization. And like you said, it's on Jimmy Haslam. Like they need to build something. I don't really know if you go Josh McDaniels because I felt like that's already played out. But I don't really know who you go after. Like the Cowboys are going to try to get like Lincoln Riley or something. Just
right.
Some, like upstart,
big
like
name
offensive
guy.
guy.
Right.
And that would be great because like Baker came from Oklahoma. Like that would be good to establish, but he's not going to leave Oklahoma to go coach the Browns.
I mean, do you blame him?
Yeah, no, not at all. I wouldn't. I don't even see him leaving to coach the Cowboys, honestly. Like, unless they pay him like an exorbitant amount of money. But
I agree with you. I don't see him leaving. And again, it goes back to the thing I said about all these personalities. We need leadership. And as much as I think Lincoln Riley would be great for Baker, would he be great for the whole team? Or is it just another Freddie Kitchens thing where, it's Baker's buddy, but he doesn't really know what he's doing and he doesn't know how to manage a locker room? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Because, I mean, you do have Odell, you do have Landry's pretty good, I think, at least from the personality aspect.
Yeah, he's just a little fiery and he's just much about winning. Yeah, he's not really a diva. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, okay, so being a Bills fan, I only thoroughly watched one Browns game, and, like, the Browns ended up winning that game. And what was so weird to me was just, like, the Browns are so much more talented than the Bills. Like, at every position, I guess offensive line-wise, the Bills probably have a better offensive line. But, like, the reason why this game was close, or the Browns almost lost, was because of Freddie Kitchens. That was the one thing.
What did he have? 8 plays inside the red zone, and he didn't even score 1 touchdown. I mean,
it was awful.
Yeah.
Like,
it's terrible. I agree. Couldn't agree more. It was awful, and it's terrible to watch.
Yeah.
Especially considering last year, statistically speaking, we had a top 5 offense after he took over play calling duty.
Yeah.
And then
you
like
come
here and you get
right?
better players, and then you get worse. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. I think it was good though because they shouldn't have continuity with Freddie Kitchens at all. Like that was quick to get that done, just like straight up. And then, I think that's pretty much it on the Browns. Let's move to Wild Card Weekend.
Finally.
All 4 games.
I thought I'd be maybe watching the Browns this year, but we're watching the Bills instead. I actually got your Bills winning.
Let's go. Yeah, starting out the 1:00 Eastern. Or is it 4:30? I think it's 4:30, right?
4:30, yes, because it's 4:30. Saturday. Yep.
Bills versus the Texans. All right, Kyle, who you got?
I got Bills beating the Texans 20-16. Now, I know as a Bills fan, you probably already know this. It all comes down to Josh Allen. Are we going to get the Josh Allen from Dallas Cowboys game, or are we going to get the Josh Allen versus the Browns or the Patriots where, he's missing some guys? But really quick, I like the Bills in this for 2 reasons. One, Houston is very hit or miss. They beat the Patriots and then they lose to someone like, I forgot who they lost to right after they played the Patriots. It was a really bad loss and a really bad look for them. But the Bills I think they pound the rock with Singletary. I mean, they're 8th in the NFL in rushing, while the Texans defense is 25th ranked. I mean, I know they got J.J. Watt back, but coming off a torn pec, I got the Bills 20-16.
So I'm kind of iffy on this game just because, like, it really depends on Will Fuller, like if he plays or not. He's going to be like a game time decision.
That's true. He's huge for that offense. Yep.
Yeah, because like so you got DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Kenny Stills. Like I don't know how you guard those three guys. Like
I know, even with the Bills' great secondary, and now Levi Wallace might be out. Agreed. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I think if he doesn't play, like I think the Bills will be able to pressure Watson enough defensively to give him some fits and stuff because their offensive line is suspect, and the Texans, like, they traded for Tunsil, but like that's one player out of 5.
Right.
So I was gonna say Texans 24, Bills 14, just because I think Will Fuller will play. Also, just like I think Watson's a better quarterback than Josh Allen, so I think he's gonna be able to produce more.
And it is in Houston.
Yeah, though I'm not too scared of Houston fans.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd rather go to Houston than New England. So
yeah, exactly, definitely. So I don't know. It'll be close. It'll be an interesting game though.
I will say one thing. Watch out, like you said, for Will Fuller because Deshaun Watson just plays a lot better with Will Fuller in the lineup. But I will say, watch out. For some reason, I have a feeling. I know that he's had good games, but he hasn't had that one great game. I think Cole Beasley would be the one to watch. The Texans got pretty decent corners on the end or corners on the outside. You know, their slot guy. I know they got Justin Reed, their safety, but he's more of an in the box guy. You know, I think Beasley's in for a big game.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that'll be fun. Plus, they I know John Brown is their one guy. He's pretty much a slot guy, anyways. So they could almost put Foster out to be the big guy and then have 2 slot guys. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
They get a little weird with it, but yeah, all right. And then moving on to the Titans versus Patriots. All right, who you got there?
I got Patriots 24-13. While I do like the way Tannehill's brought energy to this Titans team, they statistically, I think they're top 5 with him in the lineup. They're fantastic, and Derrick Henry seems to me that if he doesn't get at least 25 carries, he doesn't get 100 yards. The more carries you give him, the more yards this guy churns out. I've never seen anything like it in my life. He's a bowling ball trying to tackle. But with all that said, it's in New England. I know they haven't done well this year, but it's still Tom Brady. It's still Bill Belichick. I can't remember, but his record against his former assistants is it's just insane the way he beats his assistants. I don't see Tennessee going into New England and winning. I think they keep it close for a little, but I just think they run out of juice at the end, and I think New England kind of pulls away maybe a touchdown late to make it, like I said, 24 Patriots, Titans 13.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think this game is just kind of weird. I think if you didn't have the names in front of you, and you just saw the stats or the other teams, I think the Titans are a much better team.
Agreed.
Brown has looked awesome as wide receiver, and then like you said, Henry's just kind of like a bowling ball.
Who wants to tackle that guy? I know I don't.
No.
Shoot.
Not at all, dude. And then Vrabel is just a pretty defensive coach at all, and his defense has been pretty solid all year. And basically, if they started Ryan Tannehill at the beginning of the year, they might have been a 10 or 11 win team or something.
I agree. I think their defense is ranked 12th or something like that. And
probably.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I agree.
But like you said, it's the Pats. They have Belichick. They have Tom Brady. Belichick is the best in the business for getting his team prepared. And last year too, they seemed pretty dead going into the postseason, and I thought they would lose to the Chargers, and of course they kill them and go on to win the Super Bowl and everything.
Yep.
And then also, just Sony Michel has been looking a lot better now the past 3 games. And I think they'll really just commit to this run game. Now, if that'll work against the Titans, we'll see. But yeah, I have Pats 27-21 against Titans. And right, it's in Foxborough. They're not going to lose 2 straight home games after they got embarrassed.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
So,
not to mention that. Again, with like you mentioned with Sony Michel, they seem to be getting their running game going, and that helps. Right now, especially with Tom Brady being so young, and he's got inexperienced receivers that need some time getting open. It opens up the play action for some guys to get a little more open for Brady to hit him. So I agree.
Exactly. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see because N'Keal Harry, maybe they just try to do some short slant routes, just get him the ball, and then hopefully open it up. And then Edelman's amazing. He's just been hurt like all year.
And I noticed they're trying to get Harry more involved. I watched a couple Patriots games here towards the end, and they seem to be kind of force feeding him, kind of making him learn on the job, grow up a little bit. I mean, I see reverses coming to him. I see, like you mentioned, short slants or screens. It seems to me that they're trying to find that other playmaker, and right now it's difficult. But again, it's Belichick. He'll find some way somehow to win.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next game, Vikings versus Saints. I think this is pretty straightforward, but who you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, I think I'm with you. I got the Saints, 30-17. I know Minnesota this year offensively has been a lot better than they were last year, but what scares me is that defense. I know the Saints have Michael Thomas and then a bunch of, I don't know if journeyman's the right word to call them, but a bunch of, not as talented individuals. I think we could agree there. But again, you have Michael Thomas against that secondary. I mean, I don't know what happened to Xavier Rhodes. He went from an elite cornerback to a bottom 10. He's been just absolutely terrible. But I don't see the Vikings going into New Orleans and pulling off the upset. Kirk Cousins, we can talk about how bad he is in primetime. We can talk about how bad he is we can talk about all that. I don't even think that will be the key. I think the key will be the Saints. They're at home, and last time they played Minnesota was the Minneapolis Miracle, and last year with the no call pass interference, I have a feeling that's destiny. There's a little destiny involved as well, and I can't see them losing this game at home.
Yeah, no. I didn't even think about the Minneapolis Miracle either.
Yeah, the last time they played, and they're getting sick and tired of it. I saw an interview today. Marshawn Lattimore, the so-called experts or media are asking, last time you guys played the team Minneapolis Miracles, and he just rolled his eyes and he goes, essentially said, are you guys ever going to stop with this? We're over this. That happened. We're done and over with. And so I think it's in their head, and I think they want revenge for that. I think they know that they should have won that game. And a destiny. I don't really believe in destiny too much, but it's made for them to go to the Super Bowl just with everything that's happened the last 2 years.
Yeah. I'm with you. I have the Saints 38-10 against the Vikings. I honestly think this Saints team is arguably the most talented team in the NFL. When you got Thomas, you got Alvin Kamara, you got Cameron Jordan at defensive line.
Kamara's coming on now too. I know he struggled a little bit, but last few games I think he's got 4 or 5 touchdowns total. Yep.
Yeah, no, he's been incredible too. And then Marshawn Lattimore too he was defensive rookie of the year. He's a great corner, even though he was the one that missed, right? He went for the shoulder in.
Him sort of. So Marcus Williams, their other rookie at the time, he was the safety. He's the one that misread the ball in the air.
Oh, right.
But Lattimore's the one that let Stephon get behind it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like you said too, you cannot trust Kirk Cousins to go into New Orleans, a very hostile environment, to go and suddenly win a game. Plus, the Vikings this year have not beat a playoff team, so I don't think this is going to be the first time they do that.
Nope, I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of shocked that the Saints don't have a bye. I think they're better than the Packers. Going into next week, I would think they could handle them too.
I agree. It's tough, man. The NFC was so great this year. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a 13-3 team have to play in Wild Card Weekend. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, me either. No. And plus, Sean Payton's such a good coach. I don't know. There's just so many things that line up for the Saints versus the Vikings. Dalvin Cook is coming back. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. But
but keep in mind, the Saints, they got the what? They got the 9th, or they got the 4th ranked pass or rush defense. They're I know Dalvin Cook's great and he's coming back, but is he going to find many openings against that 4th ranked run defense? You have Cameron Jordan, who's, in my opinion, the most underrated defensive player in the entire league. This guy is a stud. He gets 13.5 sacks a year, and he stops the run, and no one talks about him. And then you also have behind him, you have arguably the greatest run-stopping linebacker in the league in Demario Davis. It's hard to get by that guy. I don't see much room for Cook to move around. And then we both harped on, and I feel bad because everyone says this about him and always makes fun of him, but I don't see Kirk Cousins winning this game on his own. I don't see it.
No, not at all. And I think, like you said, it's not even going to be like his fault. It's going to be just the Saints are just so much more talented than the Vikings in general.
I agree.
All right, the final game, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Seattle Seahawks. All right, who you got for this one?
Now, this one I think is a low-key sneaky game. I know that the Eagles, now I have the Hawks winning 23-21, but the Eagles, I know that they have all those injuries. I know that their wide receivers are a bunch of guys they got off the street or former college quarterbacks. I get it. But they've won a Super Bowl with a lot of these guys they still have on the team. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They have a very, very well-run organization. And even though Carson Wentz hasn't started a playoff game before, he has experience being in the playoffs. I know he was on the sideline. I get it. But, I mean, look at his last, I think it's 4 games, Dan. He's got 7 touchdowns and 0 picks, and he's throwing to a bunch, how do I put this nicely, to a bunch of guys who weren't even on a team 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, again, I have the Hawks, and I know me talking up the Eagles makes it sound like I'm picking the Eagles. I'm just saying, watch out for the Eagles. They're no slouch, you know. I know they're 9-7 in a crappy division, and that's the only reason they were even in this position. I get it. But Super Bowl winning, but again, you could say the same thing about the Hawks. I mean, they have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They have the MVP at the time earlier in the year, the MVP frontrunner before Lamar kind of ran away with it. But, you know, the guy who in many people's opinions is second in MVP voting. So I get it. But I just don't think you could sleep on the Eagles. And I think it's a lot closer than people think. I have Hawks 23, Eagles 21.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the same way. I think the Titans game is a little more of an upset intrigue than this one, but I would not be surprised if the Eagles somehow pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, they're in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But again, real quick, Dan, keep in mind, Hawks are 7-1 on the road, though. So that makes me, you know, and they've already went to Philly and won earlier in the year. So
yeah, very true. So I got the Seahawks 31-28. So like the Seahawks, right? They're I think 12-4 or 11-5. This year. Oh. Anyways, so like every game they've played has been like competitive, even though it should not be competitive. Like they should have killed this Eagles team, and the Eagles were still in it pretty well. Like the Bucks comes into play too, just like how Jameis plays with or was able to throw against this defense. Like
it was like 450 yards or something like that.
Yeah, it was wild. Like they should have owned that team. Like I don't know. And like yes, this division was very easy. I'm pretty sure they went 5-1. They lost the Cowboys once. I assume they just beat everyone else. But like the Redskins, right? The Redskins game, they had to go down like at the last second to score a touchdown to win the game. Like
they had to have a rookie running back bail them out. Yeah.
So like I feel like both these teams like have a lot of talent, except the Eagles don't have it at wide receiver, and the Eagles secondary is very suspect. So I assume Russell Wilson is just gonna be able to throw to Lockett or DK Metcalf like at will. And then coming out of that Seahawks 49ers game at Week 17, I forgot what his name was, but the running back that it wasn't Marshawn Lynch. Homer, right? Dude, he looked great. Like he
did look great.
Like,
he looked quick, elusive, a little agile. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more like I think the Seahawks will win. I think they'll get that rematch with the 49ers, but like I would not be shocked if the Eagles pull this off either.
I'll put it this way. I'm not a betting man, and if I was, I would not touch this game with a 60-foot pole. Absolutely not. I'm with you on that. 100%.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to move to the NBA, and we're going to talk about Kyle's Lakers, because they had the Battle of L.A. On Christmas Day.
What a game, huh? Man.
Oh, it was awesome. It was great. It was just as good as the last one. And all right, I'll just kind of let you start. Just what you thought of the game, who was good, who was bad, whatnot.
First off, let me start off by saying, being a Lakers fan, the last couple of years have been hard. Obviously, you know, they've been in the lottery. They haven't made the playoffs. I think this is their 6 consecutive seasons. And so let's just be honest with ourselves. And I'm not just saying this as a Laker fan. The Lakers being good is good for basketball. It's good for the NBA. It's good for the talk shows. People could start talking about the Lakers. Not that they weren't anyways, you know, but it's good for the NBA. Let's just be honest. When the Lakers are good and fun to watch, the NBA is usually good and fun to watch. So I'll start off by saying that. But what I'll say is I hope this is the Western Conference Finals. I don't see how it could not be the Western Conference Finals, but I hope it is, because to watch 7 games of that would be incredible to watch.
Yeah.
It's just so great. Now I will say I wasn't paying, I was watching the game, obviously I was paying attention, but there were spurts here or there, with it being on Christmas Day where, I'm with my family or whatnot. But from what I saw of it, I noticed 3 huge keys. First of all, Kawhi Leonard, when he plays, is the best player on the planet. I am a LeBron James fanatic. I think LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, better than Michael Jordan. I am LeBron's biggest fan. But with that being said, watching Kawhi Leonard fully healthy on that day, on Christmas Day, or pretty much any game you turn on, you see how great he really is. He is the best, maybe not the best offensive player. He's the best two-way player in the entire NBA, in my opinion. Yeah. Just the way he, at any given night, can get 30 on any person. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. He can get 30 points. But he's not only getting 30 points, he's defending the best player on the other team.
Yeah.
Watching him play basketball is a sight to see, and I love it. And this is coming again from the biggest LeBron supporter in the world.
Yeah.
And Kawhi Leonard is scary good. And if he does half of what he did with the Raptors, I have the Clippers winning the whole thing, simply for the fact that even half of Kawhi is better than most of the league. And now, while Siakam's fantastic, he was still kind of a rising star. They have Paul George. They have a second guy, and God forbid, in case Kawhi Leonard goes cold or something. Not to mention, they have those 2 guys. They have the deepest bench in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely.
They got Harrell, Patrick Beverley, who even may start for them. But Landry Shamet. They got Lou Williams, the reigning 6th man of the year. I think he's won 6th man 3 years. Not in a row, but 3 times. Their team is so balanced and so depth, and they have a winning head coach. It was fun to see. Number 2. Kuzma finally balled out. Finally, I know he's been dealing with injuries.
Awesome.
Yes, he was awesome. It was fun to watch. He was great. And if he is consistent and can stay consistently doing that on a nightly basis, the only team I see beating Lakers is the aforementioned Clippers. But it was great to see him, and I think him coming off the bench is the best option for not only the Lakers but for him as well. Coming off the bench could highlight his offensive prowess, because he's still learning on the defensive end. Not to mention, he may share the court a little bit less with LeBron and AD, who kind of, as you know, are kind of ball-dominant guys who need the ball in their hand. So coming off the bench, first of all, it's good for the Lakers. It provides a spark off the bench where you're not really losing too much scoring by going to your bench, but it also helps Kuzma because he gets to come and really just worry about balling out, shooting, playing offense, not really worry so much about the D part, and also being able to have the ball in his hands more and becoming more of a playmaking forward that he showed he could do last year while LeBron was out. So seeing him come off the bench and play well was great. And like you said, it was fun. It was fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is Patrick Beverley is the X factor for the Clippers, in my opinion. We know every day he's going to bring the defense. We know that. But if he can do what he did on Christmas and go, score anywhere between 20 to 25 points, it's going to be pretty hard to stop the Clippers. I mean, he's not known as an offensive guy, so when he's making shots, I don't know who you stop. You know what I mean? Quite frankly, can you stop him? I think he's the X factor. When he plays well in offense, it's almost impossible to beat them. And it's just the 3. And again, in a 7-game series, I mean, who do you want? The Lakers or the Clippers? I'm taking, as much as I love the Lakers, the Clippers have 3 of the best defensive players in Beverly, George, and Kawhi Leonard in the whole NBA. It's going to be hard to beat them in 7 games. I will say, though, it was a very entertaining game. It was one of the better Christmas Day games in a while, and I hope that's what we see for 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. And to be honest with you, I wish it could be the finals, because I just kind of like the last couple of years where it's Rockets-Warriors were so fantastic that it kind of put a burden. I don't want to say a burden, but it kind of made the finals kind of like, because it wasn't as good as the Warriors and Rockets. I feel like maybe it might be that again this year. But you got the East. I mean, you got great teams. You got Boston and Toronto's still good. You got, Giannis and the Bucks. But that Lakers-Clippers game was fun to watch, let me tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit pretty much all the main points. Kuzma looked great. I did like him coming off the bench and being able to kind of do his own thing, be a shot creator when LeBron's off the floor, or just like another shot creator with him on it. LeBron didn't play as great as he should have, but when you look at his stat sheet, it was fine. It was perfect. And I feel like he could play at a much more elite level, if it came to a playoff game or something like that. But this was just like a Kawhi game. Like he led the second half comeback. He had 35 points. I know Beverly had the big moment at the end, but this is pretty much just Kawhi. Like
agreed.
Yeah. And so the only reason this wouldn't be like a Western Conference Finals is if the Clippers don't really care about the regular season as much. So we'll see with the load management with Kawhi. Like maybe they're a 4 seed and they have to play in the conference semifinals. But like
That's a great point, Dan. That's a great point.
Yeah, I don't see anyone like stopping these teams from meeting though. Like I don't see like a first round upset or just like say they are the 1 and the 2, like the Nuggets maybe beat them or the Mavs. Like I don't see either of those teams. But I would side with the Clippers just because they have a deeper bench. And they all have, like all the players you said, they also have Mo Harkless, who was a starting wing for the Blazers last year, who just plays like 15 or 20 minutes a game because they're too loaded at the wing.
That's true. That's a great point.
So, and then plus they got Doc Rivers, like Kawhi's done this for 2 different teams, leading a team to a title. Like I don't know. Like you said, I think when he's playing and he's healthy, he's the best player in the NBA.
People are going to argue Giannis, but what this guy does on the defensive court puts him above everyone, in my opinion.
Plus, like he beat Giannis last year. Like he came back 2-0 down and just completely stole the show. So I want more of this. Like I know I missed the first game live because it was like at 10:30. I was just like, I can't like fathom.
That is the one thing that stinks about being a Lakers fan. You know that with them being West Coast.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Other Christmas games were pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that's putting it nicely, Dan.
Yeah, like the Bucks game, I was kind of excited for. The Sixers just owned them.
That surprised me. Now that surprised me. I, at the beginning of the year, predicted that the Sixers would go to the finals. Right. I did. Yeah. But that surprised me. The way they just kind of manhandled the Bucks, that really surprised me. But it goes to show you, if Joel Embiid, if he's on and he would get his head out of his ass, they're a pretty hard team to stop as well. And he's a top 5 player in the league when he plays the way he did on Christmas.
Yeah. Plus their size is just incredible. Like Josh Richardson is their smallest player, and he's like 6'6", 6'7".
Right.
It's just incredible. And then what was it? The goddamn Rockets lost to the G League Warriors. Like, how did that happen? How did that happen at all?
That goes to show you, and I say this because I'm a big Lakers and I'm a big Kobe fan. James Harden is amazing. We're seeing things that we've never seen before in our entire life. We probably will never see again. I get it. I don't get all the hype. I just don't get it. How can he be one of the greatest players of all time if he has never even made he made it to Western Conference Finals, but he had to have Chris Paul to do it. Again, I know that's how the NBA is nowadays. You have to have 2 superstars. I get it. I'm not putting that against him. What I am putting against him is the fact that you just said they lost to the G League Warriors. I mean, Kai Bowman balled out, and no one's ever even heard of this guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? James Harden is a ball hog who's a great offensive player. He's not a great teammate. He hogs the ball too much, and when it comes down to crunch time, the last couple of years have proven my point. I know I'm going a little off topic, but he has not done anything of notice except score 45 a game on 50 shots.
Yeah. I kind of disagree. I kind of like Harden, especially with last year, he had to do that, and I don't really know. And I feel like this year he almost has to too.
That's true. Because
Westbrook can't really shoot. I felt like this game he made the good pass, and then Westbrook shoots the 3 and just bricks it.
That's true. I will give you that wasn't this loss wasn't on him. Right.
Yeah. But I understand the Harden hatred because it's just like he just gets fouled all the time.
It's just when people compare him to Kobe, it frustrates me. Being a Lakers fan, because Kobe Bryant would not have lost to the G League Warriors on Christmas Day. I'm sorry, but he wouldn't have. Okay,
not at all.
He wouldn't have. I don't know. He wouldn't have run. Now Kobe's not a great teammate. Let's be honest. Everyone knows that Kobe was a terrible teammate. He used to do what Michael did and basically talk shit to his own teammates in practice. But no one ever said he was a terrible teammate. People have come out and said that Harden's a bad teammate. I mean, Chris Paul basically came out and said that he's a terrible teammate and that's why he wanted to leave because they kept, butting heads. And I get the comparison offensively. Just everything else about their games is completely different. I mean, Kobe was an all-NBA defender. Harden couldn't even sniff the all-NBA defensive team if he wanted to.
No,
It's just
not at all.
it's infuriating to me. I'm going off topic. I apologize.
Oh no worries. I think we're heading, or at least like NBA Christmas. Totally fine.
One thing I will say real quick I have to ask you a question, Dan. I know you're the host. You're the one asking the questions. But if Kawhi Leonard comes to L.A., I know he has Paul George. I know they have Doc Rivers. I know they have a deep bench. If he comes to L.A. and wins them a title and wins the MVP and wins 3 titles and 3 finals MVPs with 3 separate teams and he broke 2 dynasties. I mean, let's be honest. He broke the Heat dynasty and he broke the Warriors dynasty. Would he be considered, some are saying he would be considered top 3 of all time behind Jordan and LeBron. How do you feel about that?
So I don't know if you know, but I'm a diehard Raptors fan as well. So like,
yes, I did know that.
Okay,
actually,
good.
I did know that, and I apologize for the not giving you the congratulations that you so rightfully deserve for that title. So I apologize.
No, it's totally fine. I've been wanting to have the Kawhi GOAT conversation, like, I guess since they beat, like, the Clippers beat the Lakers, like, this year. Because, like, what he did for the Toronto and just the whole Raptors organization, because, like,
not just that, what he did for the country of Canada.
Yeah, all of Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he carried that Sixers series. Like, Fred VanVleet was nowhere. Kyle Lowry couldn't really do anything. Like, Pascal Siakam would fade in games on that, but like that Game 7 for the Sixers
was
like,
all him. Oh yeah,
all him. I think he shot like 39 times or something. Or maybe not 39, but like lower 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like in that fourth quarter, no one wanted to shoot. Like it was just like, oh, Kawhi. And like Serge Ibaka had like I think like 20 points or something. So like just him like carrying that team to the finals and then dethroning the Warriors. Granted, the Warriors got hurt, and you know you could say like if Klay Thompson stays healthy, like and they get to a Game 7, like the Warriors been there, the Raptors have not, but like injuries happen.
Right,
so,
and that's nothing you could do about it, and it happened. Right.
Yeah. So I do think right if he wins the title like this year too, where it's like back to back, he goes into a new team, a new situation, and he just wins the title. Like I think you have to consider it at least 3, but then like, because like I feel like Kareem's probably 3 right now, and I feel like that's just like hard to compare.
Yeah.
But like I'm ready for the Kawhi GOAT conversation at this point. Like
I'm on board with you. If he like, especially like you said, especially if he comes back and wins this year, that's 2 back to back. Most likely he would probably be Finals MVP. That's back to back. He would dethrone, in my opinion, or my guess is he would be dethroning a Lakers team that has arguably the greatest player of all time and arguably the greatest unicorn of all time in Anthony Davis. And what I mean by that is just the guy that does everything. You know what I mean? So he'd have to go through them, and then he'd probably have to go through the Sixers or the Celtics, you know, maybe even the Bucks. But either way, he's going through either an MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo, or he's going through the Bucks with a potential MVP candidate, MVP candidate in Embiid, on top of that size that you had mentioned, or he'd have to go through the Bucks, who, you know, they don't have great players, but they have a great tradition and a great organization, and they're run well, and they have a lot of history. If he gets through those, I'm with you. I don't see how you cannot put him at least top 5.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, top 5 would be easy. Like I don't even know.
Just the top 3, I agree. Why not top 3? I mean, people talk about titles all the time. Okay, I get it. Michael Jordan won 6 titles. I get it. He was 6-0. I get titles are important, but basketball to me is a lot different than the NFL, where the quarterback. I mean, it's obvious. Dan, you watch football every Sunday. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win.
Oh no,
it's just that simple. In the NBA, I get it. If you don't have a star, you're not going to win. But if you have one star, you're going to win. You know what I mean? Where the NFL, or you can't have just one star. You need to have like 2 or 3. Where the NFL, it's all about one star. So it's a lot different. But Michael Jordan had Scottie Pippen. I mean, they say he did it on his own. He didn't do it on his own. He had Pippen and he had Rodman, and he had guys who played their roles really well and just basically understood. Let's get out of this dude's way and let him do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm still, so I'll agree with you on the Kawhi thing. I still think Jordan's a little more improved or better than LeBron, just because of the defensive thing. Like, we could talk about this another time because that's like another hour discussion.
No, I was going to say, this could go on for hours. Yeah.
Just like the fact that he won Defensive Player of the Year a bunch of times, and like he was always pretty much considered defensive all defensive team. So, but anyways, moving on, just a little thing. So recording this on Thursday, and David Stern passed away last night. And he was commissioner for 30 years.
Devastating, Dan. Devastating.
Yeah, devastating. He saw the NBA grow from 84 to 2014. Like, what we know the NBA now is basically David Stern's, like, baby. I don't know what else you want to go on, Kyle, about this.
Well, I want to go off that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
With everything you just said, I'm sure you may argue this and you may disagree, and, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I think David Stern is the greatest commissioner in all of sports of all time. What he has done for the NBA is just simply remarkable. I mean, Dan, I have some stuff here to talk. First of all, he's so inspirational. You know what I mean? He just made basketball fun again. People liked the fun. Like, he just made it so fun, as in fast pace. He made all these rules that just make the game so fast paced and so much more fun to watch. And, and you could tell in the faces of these NBA players, they genuinely are happy and excited, and they look like they feel like they're playing ball again on the street or whatever. He did that for them. He made it I shouldn't say less of a business, because it's still very much a business, but he made it more player friendly. You know what I mean? He realized that the key to NBA is its players and its marketing. And marketing those star players. He knew the importance of that. I mean, there's no LeBron James without David Stern, because of all the marketing that he's done to help LeBron. You know what I mean? Where it wasn't as prevalent before him. He's also, I mean, look what he's done internationally for the NBA. It's insane, the amount of Europeans now playing basketball instead of soccer. Or, you know what I mean? Just the G leagues or the D leagues, the developmental leagues, I'll call them. The name changes all the time, but the developmental leagues, or all those leagues overseas that you see. I mean, look at some of the best players in the world. Luka Doncic. I mean, look at him, and he came from overseas.
Like Porzingis.
Giannis
is European.
Giannis. None of these guys would have been able to come to the NBA if it wasn't for David Stern. He opened up the game to any and everyone, and it's great to see, how much basketball has grown. And that's the other thing that he's done. I mean, the salary cap salary cap issues, there's been 4 lockouts while he's in office. I get it. Some people complain about that, but I think you could turn it around as a good thing. That means he truly actually cares about not only the players, but he also cares about the owners. Because if he didn't care about them, there wouldn't be 4 lockouts. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be disagreeing on so many things. And then he broke those 4 lockouts because he cared so much about making things even for not only the players but the owners, that he was willing to cancel the league on 4 separate occasions.
Yeah.
And I think, while a lot of people find that bad, and I wouldn't argue against it, I think it's just incredible what he's done. And back to the international thing for a second, 1992 Dream Team. Look at that. I mean, he's created that, because in 92, he made the rule that implemented NBA players can go back and start playing in the Olympics again. And without that, there's no Dream Team. And without that, some people may not go and turn on the TV and watch the Olympics, because, they're not seeing great players. They're not seeing players they see every day in the NBA. Now they are.
Yeah.
You know absolutely. What I mean? And he helped that. And I think, again, that has to do with helping the NBA grow by people watching that. They're like, oh, I know LeBron James. He's great. Now he's playing for Team America. Go America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great. And there's just a bunch of other things. I could go on and on and on, Dan. There's just a bunch of other things he does. I mean, the dress code. I know some people hated it, but I think the dress code's good. And now, because of him, because of the dress code implementation, now look what he's done to these players. These players are fashion icons now. But they wouldn't have been fashion icons if it wasn't for having to dress up in a collared shirt or jeans or, and I'm not saying, I'm not saying that it was bad, Allen Iverson wearing do-rags or stuff like that. That was part of the game. That was the culture. I get it. But now he's helping people. And again, I mentioned how he helps the players and the players love him. This goes to that where, because he implemented this dress code, guys get to really show themselves in what they wear, and they became fashion icons. And people look up to NBA players now, not just for their NBA ability, but for their fashion ability as well. And I don't think that would have been able to happen if he did not implement the dress code.
Yeah. All right, so going back, so your take on him being the greatest commissioner of all time, I'll agree with that. And I think the only person that could maybe upset him in the future is Adam Silver. And
Agreed. Yes,
pretty much
I was
a
just
David
going to say that. Yep.
Like
Yep.
protege.
Yep.
So like,
oh yeah.
I think you.
And you know what's so funny about Adam Silver? Really quick, I don't mean to interrupt. If you look at the guy, he does not look like he's an NBA commissioner.
Oh no, not at all.
You look at the guy, he looks like he works at Microsoft or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He legitimately looks like an alien or something.
He
like
really
Area
does.
51,
Yeah.
Just walks around. But yeah, so one thing about David Stern that I've always like loved, and I think you as a Laker fan would too, is like the whole thing with the Magic Johnson, the whole like AIDS thing, and what
Yes,
happened. And
that's on my list here too. Just the way. Yep.
Like how he educated the NBA and how like Karl Malone was just like, I can't play against him, and there's just like, cause I could, get the disease or whatever, and
Right,
he just
right.
like, I felt like David Stern helped Magic to like basically inform the world and just the basketball world to just like what AIDS does and just like
and how it can be contracted and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And they were able to raise funds for it too, and like I don't know, it's just like, and that was like early in his tenure. So it's just like
that was
how he handled it
because
then.
he took over in '84, I think, right?
Yeah.
So then that was only a few short years afterwards. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say it has to do with this. I don't want to say embrace. I don't know if that's the right word, but he essentially, he embraced that. He embraced the
Yeah.
AIDS. He embraced, again, embrace could be the wrong word, but I'll say accept. He accepted players' faults or players' wrongdoings, like Magic with AIDS, or you know what I mean? And like you said, he made everyone keenly aware of what it was. I read this article, or I read something a couple weeks, or maybe it was yesterday, because obviously he just passed. I think it was yesterday, where he brought and paid for professional doctors to come to these NBA arenas and talk to these teams and let them know exactly like you said, let them know, educated them on how you can and cannot get the disease. And he made it, he helped them out with that. And like you said, I think the players respect him for it, and they realize, wow, he really is trying to help us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think all the other things you said was helpful. Like with Michael Jordan too, how he came up and he was like a huge like icon with like the first one to do all the like commercials with like McDonald's and the whole Nike deal. Like I feel like you also have to credit Stern with that too. And then also with LeBron and how he rose to like this whole player minute power era, like Stern was there in the beginning too.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it all goes back to, like I said, it all goes back to just letting the players be themselves.
Right. Exactly.
Not being a dictator. Not being a Joseph Stalin or whatever the heck. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to call. Or actually, you know what? Perfect example. Not being a Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And like also like being able to work with the owners and the players at the same time. Like with Roger Goodell, it seems like he almost always sides with the owners rather than the players. And
every time seems that way, at least. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And David Stern, he kind of it seems like he's on the owner's side, especially with all these lockouts. But like they do resolve them, and like look at like the player, like a single player max deal now too is like part of the new CBA that
they're making $40 million a year.
Yeah, like
I think
Damian
you and I got
Lillard's
in the wrong
could make 54 like in like 2021 or something.
It's crazy, yeah.
Absurd.
It's crazy.
Right, I think that's enough on David Stern, and I think that pretty much wraps it up for this podcast. Kyle, you got any other plugs?
Honestly, not really. I want to thank you for having me. This is great. I got to talk sports for like an hour to an hour and a half, and I didn't, and I got to talk sports with somebody that's actually interested, and not my girlfriend who could care less. So I appreciate you having me. So
yeah, no problem. This is great.
I was just going to say, she probably appreciates you as well. So
awesome. Yeah, you'll definitely come on in the future as well. This was awesome. But yeah, thanks to all my listeners, and have a great day.
Have a great day.